But there are also many in Europe right now who feel afraid of the United States for the first time in our lives. They feel afraid of your president because he is threatening quite openly, and including, indeed, if reports are to be believed, asking American generals to draw up plans to invade what is effectively European sovereign territory in Greenland. Should we be afraid of you?
Well, of course not. I mean, it's preposterous and it's laughable to suggest that our greatest ally, Great Britain, and those of us who are so much alike with our holidays and language and even some of our cultures, we're essentially the same people divided by waters in many cases. And so it's laughable to suggest that Europe, especially Great Britain, needs to be afraid of President Donald Trump or the United States of America. You fail to remember that it was President Reagan who declared, tear down this wall.
Absolutely. But President Reagan wouldn't have threatened to invade Greenland, would he, Pastor Burns?
Well, I mean, you got to understand there was a purpose and a reason why those type of languages and conversations are coming up concerning Greenland. You got to understand our adversaries, Russia and China, who are strategically positioning themselves in the Arctic area. This is a devastating move of military might that Russia and China positioning submarines and nuclear powers within those regions.
In which case,
that is something that we cannot have.
In which case, absolutely,
and that protects Great Britain.
Absolutely, Pastor Burns, and the Danish government and the European Union and Great Britain are all equally concerned with those things, which is precisely why the Danish government and the Greenlanders have said to the United States government, under the existing treaty that you have, which was signed in 1951 under President Truman, you are able to do whatever you want effectively in Greenland. You can have as many military bases as you want. You can have as many soldiers as you want. And yet President Trump is suggesting that he will take Greenland the hard way or the easy way. So that is why people currently right now in Greenland and in Denmark and in the rest of Europe are scared of you. And whether we have the same holidays or not, as you put it, that's understandable, isn't it?
Well, again, it's understandable when you don't have American interests as number one. When you're not focused on America.
But we're supposed to be allies. We're supposed to be friends. You just said that we're great friends. You just said that we're the same people. So why would you invade the sovereign territory of your own people, as you put it, if we're the same?
Well, again, Greenland is not Great Britain. Let's be clear.
No, but it's part of Greenland. It's part of Denmark, which is one of your closest allies.
It's not Great Britain, right? You're trying to mix words. We're talking about.
No,
Great
I know it's
Britain.
not. I know it's not Great Britain, but we're friends of Denmark.
We're not talking about invading Great Britain. We're simply talking about protecting Great Britain. We're talking about protecting Great Britain. We're talking about protecting those enemies who desire to destroy Great Britain.
Well, Pastor Burns, how do we know
the European Union? What we do know is this. Russia, Iran, China are building up their military strategic moves in the region. We know this. We know that they're going to continue to do that. While you want to continue to try to talk kumbaya, our enemies are building up military pressures, submarine bases.
Then why haven't you put more soldiers into Greenland now? Then why haven't you put more soldiers into Greenland now? You're able.
Britain and Europe.
Pastor Burns,
that's the challenge that we're having.
As I say, under the 1951 treaty, you can put in as many soldiers as you like. There used to be 10,000 American soldiers in Greenland. There are now 200. That happened, among other presidents, under President Trump. So if it's such an urgent military problem, why haven't you put more soldiers in hitherto? Why is it only a problem now when Donald Trump has decided, for whatever reason, that he wishes to annex Greenland?
Well, I think President Trump is a master at getting the attention of the world. Just like when he one time hinted in a jokingly way that he would run for a third time, when yet everyone knows it's not in our Constitution for a president to run for a third time. And just to get you media talking about the very issues that's on President Trump's heart. The point that I'm making is this. I know this. I know President Trump. And Venezuela is proof of this, that he is a man not to be messed with when it comes to the sovereign and the protection of the America policies and the American interests and our allies, that includes Great Britain. It's laughable to me to see that some, as you stated, are afraid of the United States of America when everything we do oftentimes includes protecting our great friends in the British Empire.
Well, let me try to...
This is why it's important for us.
We're pleased to say.
Yeah. Well, some don't think so.
Well,
but let me just say the United Kingdom. And so it's laughable to suggest that Great Britain should be afraid of the United States.
Well, Pastor Burns, let me try and explain why that might be. And I'm not just talking about Great Britain here, but I'm talking about other European countries. But ultimately, we're allies with Denmark. We're NATO allies. So are you. Denmark sacrificed over 50 Danish soldiers. They actually had the greatest casualty rate per person of any country in the alliance that was built up to invade Iraq and Afghanistan in 20 years ago, right? So they are close allies of yours. Is it not profoundly insulting to them and to their memory, soldiers who died for you, for your country, because you said you needed them, who came to your defense after 9/11, that an American president comes along like a bully and says, we're going to take your territory?
Well, I think it's, again, obviously we're grateful for every country, every
Doesn't sound
soldier,
that grateful.
That died for the defense of freedom. And that includes the American soldiers that also died for freedom, protecting you. Protecting
we're supposed to be
all
friends.
of those territories. But listen, let's just be clear.
With friends like you, who needs enemies?
Complete that the European Union has been complete friends of the United States of America. That is not true, right? So you're sitting here acting as though that every interest and every decision of the European Union, the EU, which you are part of, has made decisions.
We're not part of the EU anymore.
That has made decisions, excuse me, correct, that has made decisions for and in advance of the United States of America. No, sir, that is not true. The reality of it is our enemies are very real. China is very real. Russia,
you know who's not your enemy, Pastor?
And
Denmark.
that's the very reason why we went to Venezuela to make sure that Iran and China, who buys up 90% of the oil reserves from Venezuela to help fund, and Russia to help fund killing Ukrainians in Kyiv. Right now, the innocent children that are dying, the innocent women that are dying, to defund the Putin war machine. This is what's on the heart and the mind of President Trump, to make sure that the USSR is not coming back, to make sure that Kyiv is standing, make sure that the Baltic states, and that includes NATO,
You're a pastor.
is standing.
You're a pastor.
That's the reality.
You're a pastor. And of course, in Christianity, of course, a central dictum is treat thy neighbor as you would treat thyself. Do you think that President Trump right now, with his allies, with his friends, with Denmark, with Greenland, who have done nothing to him but support him, do you think that he's living up to that spiritual dictum?
Again, I think that you are mixing words. The reality of it is President Trump's number one goal is to protect American interests. No, sir, that's a fool. That is not true. I know the man, and the man is a giver. And unfortunately, you people like you who've never met him, and you only know him through the lenses of some news clip or some bite by some liberal media outlet that is spreading it around the world.
With respect, Pastor Burns. With respect, Pastor Burns. With respect, with the greatest respect.
Let me finish, please. Let me finish. The people like you who take these small sound bites and don't know the man, don't know the man as a father, don't know the man as a wonderful, wonderful husband to his wife Melania, not understanding the wonderful grandfather to his grandchildren, and his love for American people. That includes black people, Muslims, Jews, Christians, Hindus, all over the world.
Somali Americans,
if we want to talk
garbage.
about Somalia, we want to talk about the corruption that is happening in Minnesota. That is not a race issue. That is a integrity issue of these group of people in Minnesota who have taken advantage of American society. And so that has nothing to do with race. That has everything to do with integrity. And these people who are part of these people who are part of this evil manipulation of funds are not good people. And so however you want to try to shape it or frame it, you're trying to dummy down their actions because of your hatred and your disgruntledness of President President Donald Trump. So you'd be willing to accept fraud that is happening in America, defrauded the American people, the American tax dollar, just because you despise Donald Trump.
There's
that is what we call Trump deranged syndrome. And it doesn't matter what the president does or how he is or who his true character is.
There's no question,
and
Pastor Burns.
Testimony by people like me who know him very well.
I understand.
Who know him to be a kind man, know him to be a
Famously
fair
kind.
man, know him to be a great leader, and many people who have Trump deranged syndrome, no matter what he does or says,
do you think there might be the opposite of Trump derangement syndrome in the other way, where people get a little bit too captivated by him? Might I subtly suggest? No, you don't think that exists?
I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself, right? And for me, my God is the living God, the God of Abraham, Isaac.
Well, since you mentioned God, Pastor Burns,
Son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross, that's my God.
Since you mentioned God,
him, God has used Donald Trump to be the leader that America needs in this season.
I understand.
So
you think he was God chosen?
You
think Trump's been chosen by God?
World has pushed the United States of America behind. It is the leadership of President Trump and those around him that he's choosing to help bring America back to the forefront to be the shining city on the hill.
I understand.
That President
One final
Reagan
question, Pastor.
Well, that's why it is peace through strength.
I understand. One final question, Pastor Burns. We're very grateful for your time this morning. I know it's very early where you are as well. Given you mentioned Minnesota, and again, as you are a religious man, and you say that Donald Trump is as well, how does it fit with Christianity when we see a woman, whatever the circumstances, a mother of three, killed on the streets of Minneapolis, and the president does not hesitate, does not wait for a single second to find out the circumstances or the evidence of that killing, and instead simply declares her a domestic terrorist with no pity and no remorse for the loss for her children and family? How does that align with your, or indeed his, Christianity?
Well, I think it's important to realize that this person chose her own death.
She chose her own death. She's responsible for her own death. Because
she ran over a federal officer. She did not have
those circumstances are disputed, as you know,
The reality of it is that there's too much video evidence. Let me just say, there's just too much evidence to suggest that she...
You think she deserved to die?
And well, again, when a person kills another person, they sentencing themselves to die. That's their choice. If you murder somebody...
You didn't murder anybody.
Choosing no, but my point of it is a person's decisions. If you decide to reject Jesus as your Lord and Savior,
so she had
God
it coming.
is not sending you to hell. You're sending yourself to hell. It is your choice. It is your decisions. If you decide to shoot up drugs in your arm, and even though people around you saying, don't do it, stop. Please be still, but yet you still shooting up drugs in your arm, then whatever happens is because you pushed it to be. And God has a grace and a love. He sends people that says, I'm going to look beyond your faults and still meet your needs. But in the end, you reap, as the Bible says, what you sow.
So she had it coming.
This woman, she deserved I'm not saying she had it coming, and I'm not saying she deserved it. I'm saying she reaped what she sowed. The question...
There was no evidence, Pastor Burns. There was no evidence. There was no evidence of drugs. There was no criminal activity.
We're not talking about drugs, but when we saying that there was there was an order that was, I'm using it as an example, right? And I'm sorry, you may be a little bit slow. You can't follow the conversation. The point of it is,
I can't follow what you're saying. I must be honest. No.
You reap what you sow. That's the end of the day. The woman was asked to stop. Like every person in America, when a law
just for clarity, Pastor Burns, I think we owe it to her family.
Stop. But number two, she decided, even with her partner trying to get into the car, she sped off, hitting in the police of hitting the law enforcement officer. Sir, that is an assault on a law enforcement officer, and many courts would consider that an attempted on life, right? Because she has a vehicle and she's driving, and she sees that that law enforcement officer, the ICE officer, in front, regardless of your political ideology or
I
your
think we owe
belief
it. I think we owe it. Pastor
hold on, let me
Burns,
finish,
I
sir,
think we,
'cause
no,
I'm
no,
not
no,
finishing.
you've spoken for a long time. I think we owe it to her family.
Because we're not finishing. The reality of it is she hit him with a vehicle. There's too much film
No, she didn't.
evidence. And because of your Trump deranged syndrome, you're going to ignore the physical evidence. There's so many different videos from people's cell phones that shows the officer being hit
Pastor
by
Burns.
a vehicle. Sir,
Pastor Burns, you brought up, no, I think we owe it to her family. I mentioned, started this by saying how it aligned with your religion. And you've brought in various non sequiturs, various things that do not align with her. So I think we owe it to her family to make one thing very clear. There was no evidence of drugs or criminal activity. Reports and her family assert she was an American citizen with no criminal record. No weapons or drugs were found in her car. Indeed, inside her car, you know the only thing that agents found? Stuffed animals. That is someone your president described as a domestic terrorist, a mother of three who was killed by one of his ICE agents. And you, as a man of the cloth, show no remorse about that or no regret about that whatsoever?
It's absolutely sad that her life is lost. Nobody.
President doesn't sound very sad.
No. Listen, you're confusing. You're ignoring the fact that she had a weapon. It's called a vehicle. It's called putting her feet on the gas and pressing it. Even though the law enforcement officers had a right to say stop, she did not stop. They said, get out the car. She did not get out the car. Instead, she chose to put her feet on the gas. And even though there was an ICE agent in front of her, she chose to continue to drive ahead. Now, no, she was no drugs. No, she had no guns, but she did have a weapon, and it's called a car. It's called a vehicle. And even in Europe, when there are terrorists who have taken their vehicle and used it to run people over in the middle of the street, to drive a car in the midst of people, knowing it's going to cause harm, that person was labeled as a terrorist.
The woman in question, Renée Nicole Good, let's use her name.
Hit a man, the woman hit an officer of the law in the United States of America. Have she hit anyone for that matter? If it had been you and
Renée
you
Nicole
were standing
Good,
there with your camera and she hit you, the law enforcement officers would have pulled their weapon and stopped this individual from potentially hurting more people.
Renée Nicole Good.
That's sad.
She was such a domestic threat.
It breaks my heart that death has happened. No one wants anything like that to take place. It is no one should be killed, but the reality of it is
she was such a domestic threat. She was such a domestic threat that she calmly said on video. She calmly said on video that everything was fine and I'm not mad at you. Seconds before an on-duty immigrations customs enforcement agent fatally shot her. That's how much of a threat that she was, Pastor.
The gas, sir.
Okay.
You're ignoring. You're not even acknowledging that. You're only talking about the
Well, you know as well as
side.
I do that is highly disputed, and local, the local government and state government have been very, very clear that they dispute the account that the federal government has given. Anyway, Pastor Mark Burns, it's been a spirited conversation.